Here. Thank you. Statement of presiding officer, please.
In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, I hereby state that adequate notice of this regular meeting has been provided to the public by a written notice dated February 2nd, 2021. The meeting has been emailed to all staff members, communicated to at least one of the board's designated newspapers, and filed with the Borough Clerk of Palisades.
Thank you. Next item is the report of the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I first want to recognize, I thought she would be here, but I think she did have a family emergency. Two of our employees at the junior, senior high school, a few months ago, submitted a grant, that we were very deserving, and, I'm very pleased to acknowledge Ms. Natalie Conoscenti and Ms. Christy Agresta. They submitted a grant for, many of our English language learners, to try to bridge the communication gap. We were recipients of $5,000, where we will be buying supplies and materials to assist English language learners at the junior, senior high school. With that being said, I've asked the board to consider matching that, and we are going to double the purchase of this very, very important endeavor.
Very good.
Thank you. Second, I have in new business this evening a resolution that I would ask the board to consider. It is the annual submission of our school safety and security plan. So when we get to new business, I would ask for that. I did meet with the 3 building principals. We have walked our interior. We have addressed any and all concerns. And if there are any ongoing needs, we continue to work with our local police department to ensure that our buildings, interior, exterior, are always in a safe and orderly fashion.
Can I ask a comment on that?
Please.
Could you please check into the Wednesday incident that we
Absolutely.
before? Because that seems to
I
be.
did, the Wednesday incident, he is not an employee of ours, and that is
If
a,
you can someone call down there to find out, do they have a replacement person?
they do not, I did check that. So we have our class 3 officer who is on duty on Wednesdays.
In all the buildings?
He wrote this, that is correct. Additionally, as a follow-up, and I have copies, and it will again be on our website. Last month, I talked about not many good things coming out of the pandemic, but one of the good things, unfortunately, was the amount of money that the federal government gave to our public schools, especially here in Palisades Park. I, on the day of our meeting, received notification from our architects with soft costs on the low end and high end of what the architects and engineers deemed to be our most vulnerable areas of heat, ventilation, air conditioning in all of our schools. We don't have air conditioning in the buildings. It is time that we provide air conditioning for our students. Our our heating units are of age that they need to be replaced, not repaired. Much of the findings speak directly to it. In the past 3 weeks, I have met with the Buildings and Grounds Committee of the board. I have met with the Finance Committee of the board. I am not seeking a resolution. What I'm seeking is that our architects continue to work and provide renderings to the Department of Education, that we will solicit bids on these projects in the next few months. This is a very monumental task. This is one that could be somewhere in the neighborhood of $6 to $8 million. It needs to be done. It's not an option. This is not something that's coming out of our day-to-day expenditures. Again, grant money is providing us an opportunity to do it, and do it now. So I'm gonna ask the board to please continue to help me and move this forward. And finally, I will just make mention of it now, and it will be an item for consideration on finance this afternoon. As much news was made last month, and since we've had many storms, weather-related storms, this afternoon I received a state contracted bid on the roof replacement. Again, not a repair. We have to stop repairing. We have to replace things that are broken. At the junior, senior high school, there's a resolution number 19 that I shared with the board members for the lobby, the cafeteria, and the breezeways. It's gonna be a verbal, it's not an euro. On a state contracted award of ARCO roofers to rectify the problem at the junior, senior high school. That is my report. Thank you.
Thank you. There is no report on the board of president, and how about board attorney?
Thank you, Mr. President. The only item that I do have is, in old business. There's going to be an addendum to the PPA agreement. There was some dates to the agreement that we just passed, the collective bargaining agreement, where it still reflected the previous term dates. And this addendum does now ratify and correct those dates.
Thank you. Next item is minute approval, and we don't have at this time. Now, committee report, finance please.
Before you, you have, 18 resolutions, and you heard Dr. Cirillo mention number 19 with, WTI. So I went through them, the finance committee did, and like Dr. Cirillo said, so did the building department, buildings and grounds. So I move on all 19 resolutions.
Any discussion on this?
Wait a second.
Discussion?
Is there a
Second, any second, sorry.
Yes, I am asking again, I notice on
Yeah.
here that, it's my ignorance probably, but, when we hired an interim VA, I know that we hired her per hour, I think it was, or per day. And yet, this other consulting firm that we hired as well, they keep sending bills in, and this month it's $10,000. And every month I question, I think it's, we have to soul search for a VA, because the VA is not only in charge of the finances, he or she is in charge of the buildings and grounds. So it would make so much sense, I mean, because again, I don't know if this company has dealt with the buildings and grounds, I know Dr. Cirillo has, and I know he's been working on it, which is not in the scope of what he's supposed to be doing, but, in defense, and again, another $10,000, I don't know, when that's going to stop.
So Dr. Matarazzo, I know we spoke of that earlier in our personnel meeting. I did inquire about that. For the record, that encompasses 4.5 weeks.
Mhm.
That's approximately 18 hours a week, and that was over 80 hours in the past, 4.5 weeks. And really, we're undergoing our annual audit. There was much preparation for that done. Keep in mind, even if it's at $10,000 a month,
Right.
times 12 months, which we haven't seen a number that high.
Right,
We're at 120,000 for a business administrator not paying benefits.
but aren't we also paying, in addition to this, we're paying also?
Ms. Gillis worked
Ms.
probably
Gillis.
3 days this month.
Uh-huh,
So my argument would be, we are still not paying what we would be paying a full-time business administrator. Believe me when I tell you, if we had one that is capable, if you know someone, please have them apply. It's gonna be a lot easier on my end.
Yes.
I appreciate you pointing that
yes,
out.
I mean,
But the reality is, the district is not losing money, we're probably saving money. It doesn't help us long-term, and this can't happen forever.
no,
But as I said, the position is vacant, we are seeking a qualified candidate. We just don't have anyone as of now.
okay, and, let's see what else. Also, on motion number 18, which was, the environmental services, it's almost 8,500 plus, I believe there was another 1,600,
That is correct.
so that's about $10,000 just to get the air sample.
So the air sampling is $1,650, that's
Right.
resolution number 17.
Right.
That is not just one sample, that is multiple floors, multiple locations.
Mhm.
Number 18 is the remediation. Number 18 is the scrubbing, is the air filters that have been placed in the building to further ensure air quality. We did test our rooms. We did test our hallways. Everything has come back to be acceptable. It doesn't mean that we are in the clear. We did have a report this week submitted to my office from Keosha. We are complying with their findings, or excuse me, with their, identifying of someone reporting the problem. We are ahead of this. The fact that we already did the sampling, they're very pleased to know that we are acceptable. Again, we have to continue to clean. Being that we're acceptable doesn't put us at a stage where we say, okay, we don't have to do anything about it.
Okay.
This is an emergency repair that must happen.
And I also notice on, motion number 14, approve the Pontonian expenses. And on 3 of them, it comes out to over $100,000.
Yep, I can speak to that as well. I actually brought the whole binder for food service, thinking that might come up, because those are very large numbers.
Yeah.
So we, ran out of checks earlier this school year, September, October, hence you have 2.5 months of payments here. Payroll for the employees in Pontonian district-wide are the very large numbers you see. All the backup is provided here. Every single one of these is provided in this binder. Again, I would not be recommending it for approval
No.
if it wasn't backed up.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Jason Kim.
Yes, ma'am.
John Mattison.
Yes.
Annie Esther Garcia.
Yes.
Stephanie Jen. Yes. Rebecca Lee.
Yes.
Kevin Lynn.
Yes.
Thomas Matarazzo.
Yes.
Yuli Min.
Yes.
Timothy Young.
Yes.
Thank you. Buildings and grounds.
There is no report at this time.
Thank you. Personnel, Dr. Matarazzo.
Yes, before you, you have 13 motions. I met with Dr. Cirillo today. I'd like to move on all of them with an addendum to number 13, which would be pending fingerprint results, correct? So please add on to number 13, pending fingerprint, results.
Anybody want a second? Any other discussion? Roll call please.
Jason Kim.
Yes, ma'am.
John Mattison.
Yes.
Annie Esther Garcia.
Yes.
Stephanie Jen. Yes. Rebecca Lee.
Yes.
Kevin Lynn.
Yes.
Thomas Matarazzo.
With deep regrets on number 1, I hate when anyone resigns for whatever reason. I wish her well and commend her for all the work that she has done. Yes.
Yuli Min.
Yes.
Timothy Young.
Yes.
Next item is curriculum.
There's no report at this time.
Thank you. Next item, negotiation.
There's no report at this time.
Okay, thank you. Policy.
Before you, there's one item we'd like to move on consent agenda. It's in addition to a policy that we currently have. I have spoken to Dr. Searle concerning it, and I'd like to move on consent agenda.
I second that.
Any discussion on this issue? Roll call please.
Jason Kim.
Yes, ma'am.
John Mattison.
Yes.
Annie Esther Garcia.
Yes.
Stephanie Jen.
Yes.
Rebecca Lee.
Yes.
Kevin Lynn.
Yes.
Thomas Matarazzo.
Yes.
Yuli Min.
Yes.
Timothy Young.
Yes.
Next item is on the PTA, PTSA liaison.
There is no report at this time.
Thank you. Next item, student activity field trip.
Before you, there's one resolution I would like to move consent agenda.
I second that.
Any discussion on this?
Yeah, I'd like to add that, up in Ramapo University, or Ramapo College, they have a phenomenal Holocaust center that, Dr. Rick, heads, and I've been up there many, many times and attended many of the functions. So maybe if we wanted to advise, the person who's in charge of it, that he may want to explore that, and many of those items too are free of charge. There's so much of that, guest speakers coming in, literature available, etc.
Thank you, Tom. Roll call please.
Is there a second on that?
Yeah,
Jason Kim.
Yes, ma'am.
John Mattison.
Yes.
Annie Esther Garcia.
Yes.
Stephanie Jen.
Yes.
Rebecca Lee.
Yes.
Kevin Lynn.
Yes.
Thomas Matarazzo.
Yes.
Yuli Min.
Yes.
Timothy Young.
Yes.
I do need to go into closed session. Should we suspend the agenda?
It's part of the agenda for closed session for the, HIP reports.
Should we go in order is my question,
Um,
and do it at the end?
you could choose to do so, yes.
That's up to the president, of course.
Yeah, it is okay that we move on.
So everyone doesn't have to wait.
That's correct. So closed session will be at the end.
There will be formal action. It will only be pertaining to the investigations of him, which is harassment, intimidation, and bullying. But in an effort, again, to not have you leave, to come back and potentially leave again, we'll continue with our agenda.
So we're gonna skip the closed session to the end.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome. The next item is old business.
Okay, this is on the addendum to the PPEA agreement affecting term 2019-2022. Whereas the agreement between the Palisades Park Education Association and the Palisades Park Board of Education affecting 2019 to 2022 was entered into on October 21, 2021. Whereas the attached addendum corrects relevant dates to the agreement to reflect the intended term 2019 to 2022. Now be it resolved that the PPBOE hereby approves and ratifies the attached addendum to the agreement. Further be it resolved, the superintendent and administration is authorized to take all actions necessary to effectuate the terms of the addendum to the agreement between the parties. I could also report to the board that the PPEA had signed off on this today, and I believe dropped off a copy of it with our office today. Okay? So I would ask for your approval on this resolution.
I make a motion, we accept.
I second.
Any discussion?
Hmm?
Who cannot vote?
That's right. Folks that cannot vote will be able to vote.
Then roll call please, Diane.
Jason Kim.
Yes, ma'am.
John Mattison.
Yes.
Annie Estes Garcia.
Yes.
Stephanie Jang.
Yes.
Rebecca Lee.
Yes.
Kevin Lynn.
Yes.
And Tom Yoon and Timothy are recused.
That's correct. Right. Thank you. And next one, new business.
I do seek that resolution I mentioned earlier in my report. It is the submission of our school safety and security plan for the 2021-2022 school year.
I recommend, I resolve.
Who second?
Again, in the discussion, my only concern is that Wednesday, we could possibly address that somehow.
Who second?
Timothy.
Timothy, thank you.
Timothy Young.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Jason Kim.
Yes, ma'am.
John Mattison.
Yes.
Annie Estes Garcia.
Yes.
Stephanie Jang.
Yes.
Rebecca Lee.
Yes.
Kevin Lynn.
Yes.
Thomas Matarazzo.
Yes.
Yu Min.
Yes.
Timothy Young.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our last item is the audience participation.
Can I ask one more thing? Because as a new business, I just want to make a motion to consider changing the auditor this time. So.
Consider changing what?
Auditor, yeah.
Professional services.
Professional service.
Yeah.
The auditor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sir, are you,
Can he do that?
I'm asking a question, are you asking that a formal motion be entered today?
Yeah, just as a new business, I think we put into consideration to change it. I just wondering whether.
I believe
So
you have to put
I
it forward.
think under the new, like when we reorganize, we'll go out
That's-
for
that's what it goes,
RFPs
Yeah.
and possibly get applicants that way, that might solve the problem.
That's the way it works.
If the board is going to ask that we seek RFPs and RFQs for our professional services, I do not believe a motion is required. That is the advisement of the board to the board secretary, and I will ensure that the business office does that.
So can we have some kind of timetable that when do you think we can get everything done? Like at least like RFP?
Yeah, so usually that coincides with reorganization, so when the new members, and I do want to acknowledge now that I think the election is certified, I know Ms. Chung and Mr. Shin are here, congratulations. When the new board comes in is when normally the professional services begin. So it's ultimately your opinions, recommendations, I do not decide on the professional services, but if you advise me to seek applicants for those positions, then that is what we will do.
Yeah, initially, because the reason I just speaking this one is that initially I was advised that I was informed that this issue has to be done before the end of this year. So I thought it was a time pressing. So that if there, otherwise I think we can say put it consideration once the new board comes in, yeah.
And then can I ask, for the procedure, how does it work?
Sure. So we have to advertise legally, it goes into the newspaper. Anyone can submit their qualifications, they submit their proposals. There is a rating system where the applicants will receive points. Based on that, what I've seen the boards do in years that I've been here, they interview the candidates. They meet with the candidates, they ensure that it is a good fit for the schools in our community. At that point, again, sometimes it's at reorg, sometimes it's maybe a month later, allowing the new members to be a part of that selection process. That's more or less how the process works.
And you could also form committees, for that selection as well too, and make a recommendation based upon the committee to the entire board as well.
So then at the next meeting, would we then go out for RFPs? Or we could do it now in respect to.
We can put it out now, we can, hold on to them and decide when you guys choose to, guys and gals, excuse me, when you choose to select, if you choose to select any changes. Again, that's completely up to the board.
So out of respect for your request, maybe what we should do is go out for RFPs for all the services that we render.
Yeah.
Have them come in, this way we could review them, and then at reorganization, make a decision.
Yeah, that's right. I'm very much interested in, watching and,
Sure.
maybe contributing, my whatever, expertise, whatever.
How about after the Thanksgiving holiday? We will submit a legal advertisement into the paper soliciting any and all proposals. Is that okay?
Sure.
For all of the
All architect, engineer, auditor, attorney.
Legal.
Legal.
Question, why not, excuse me, being that,
Legal.
sorry, Dr. Cirillo.
Sorry.
Being that we're being audited now, if the audit is not finished by December,
It'll be done by this.
You better be finished.
well, if he isn't.
There's not enough parking spots at that office.
Well, my question is, would they have to finish it, or would the new auditors take over?
I'm sure they would be required
Your
to.
contracts
They have to
expire
finish up.
December
31st.
They will be complete by
They
then.
will be completed?
I'm sure they would.
And piggybacking off of what Dr. Cirillo said, congratulations, I do congratulate our two new board members as well, and I'm so upset that we're going to be losing, someone on our board who's going to a higher position, and I congratulate her formally on behalf of all of us. We definitely,
My heart is
yeah.
always in here.
And we'll do that formally when we
I'm not sure about it's the higher position, but. Or headache position.
They sit on a dais, it's elevated, that's what he meant.
That's right.
I know what it is.
Right, my heart will be here.
We will be there.
Any other discussion? Okay, the next one is the audience participation is limited to the 3 minutes for each one. We gather all the questions and we answer all of them at once, one at a time. And no more acceptance after that, after we close it, okay?
And may I say something as
Yeah.
well too? Okay, again, limited to 3 minutes per participant, and that's, subject to our policy 9322. Also want to remind the audience and also the board, that, no one has been rice noticed for today. The board has a responsibility, to the teachers as well as, its constituents, as well. So I would ask just the participants, whoever makes comments, to refrain from mentioning any names, concerning any actions, because it's just unfair to them, because they're not here to defend themselves. But the board will take your comments, consume them, and if we could answer them, definitely we'll answer them, okay? Thank you.
When you ask, opportunity to speak out, you have to speak your name and your address. That's required by the, rule. Okay. Now, anybody like to, make a, yes,
You can sit, you have a bad foot.
your name and address.
Okay, hi, my name is San Lin, I live in 464 Glen Avenue, Palisades Park, New Jersey. I am a mom of Joey Kim. I am pretty sure you guys all aware of what happened last Tuesday incident.
Can I interrupt for 1 second, ma'am?
Sure.
Perhaps because this involves a minor, perhaps this is better if we want to address the board in, closed session, and, subject to the president, we would invite, the parent to, make comments to the board in closed session about this matter, if you want.
I'm not really fully understand, but, so.
Later on,
do
we
you
will
want
not
me
have a
to-
closed
you wanna-
session, maybe better off that you speak in that time rather than open to everybody because of it dealing with the minors.
Okay.
Mr.
Then
Choi,
if
the
you prefer
gentleman,
it that way, okay.
Mr. Choi, the gentleman had a question, I think.
Hi.
Hold on, is this related to this woman's question? Do you know?
It kinda is, but I wanna piggyback with what she's saying, and then ask my own personal
Okay,
question.
so let's establish, if you don't mind, so you would prefer, again, you will speak in private because we are talking about a minor? Is that your choice?
Are you asking me to,
No.
how
Yes,
do you wanna do?
I'm asking you.
Okay, I'm not gonna go detail what happened on that incident, but a lot of parents already aware of that, so I'm not gonna go detail in public right now, I don't know, whatever you prefer, I can do whatever, I can do it now,
I really
can
think
do-
it's appropriate, and
Okay.
it's safer for everybody,
Right.
including
Sure.
the child, to which we have a responsibility to as well too.
Excuse me, can we have people in closed session?
Just the parent. Just the parent.
So I can stay there in closed session because I'm here as a parent?
No,
Or
ma'am.
because I was aware of that issue as, I'm a member also in the parents group, so.
No, ma'am,
Oh,
we
well.
cannot, not to address this issue.
Mhm.
And now, it's entirely your choice if you wanna say something now, but I just think it's, safer to, put it in closed session.
If you'd like to speak, you could just state your name, address, and then you can have your part at this point.
Hi, my name is Bradley Rivera, I'm a parent of, Bradley Rivera, 512 Glen Avenue. With respect to their private story, I think it's important that all parents get addressed of how the board is addressing the situation that takes place. And the steps they took to make sure that doesn't happen again, because, like I said, this is a very fragile situation, and as a parent, we're all concerned. Many parents are aware of the situation, and would like to know a root cause analysis of how this happened, how it's not gonna happen again, and what actions have been taken to ensure that the staff members involved with the alleged poor decision making has been properly addressed. So I am requesting a formal response to all parents, we don't need to know the details, but of how you guys investigated and what was the outcome.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have a question. I know last,
Have your name and address.
Neris Papoter, 444 Glen Avenue. I know last meeting, we talked about the security, officer that they was gonna hire, and I would like to know more detail about that. I know one of the board member wasn't, completely aware or agree in how if they're gonna hire, and I would like to know more information. And also I have a little comment for the, president of the board member. I would like to mention about how, as Omar, I was very, upset how last month the meeting was handled when I was, ordered to get out, that I was gonna be, escorted out of the meeting for the comment that I made regarding our people from town, that it was attending the meeting at the time of the campaign. So that was the reason, because as we see now, it's not much people here as we expecting for they to come and support us and come here and care and take care of our school, that's what we need. So now it's nobody. So this is what's my concern. When you mentioned to me that you was gonna escort me out of the meeting because what I said, because I come here all the time in the meeting and I have the right as a parent to feel sad how they just come when it's convenient. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Sujin Chong, 237 East Central Boulevard. So it's relevant to the prior, talk to the, gentleman there, and, cause I was here, cause I really want to see, I take things, this kind of minor issue is my own, cause it could happen to every single parent to their kids. And what if I wanna know, like, what's the protocol in this kind of incidents, what's the regulations and is there any rules and what's your obligation as Board of Ed? And if I know the answers, should I just hear from through these parents because I'm not able to be in the group sessions? Or if I email you guys, then you will respond to me? So how can I find out that?
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Joe Spalazzo, 85 West Etzel Boulevard, Pal Park. I'm just questioning the HVAC for the buildings, as Doc would expect I would have. Is that going to be a total redo, hopefully? Because the high school had 28 major breakdowns, major pipe leaks and breakdowns last year. Petrified of this year. Heating is antiquated in 2 of our buildings, totally. The Lindbergh School, you're talking 1968, units that are supposed to be replaced every 20 years, so they were put in 1968. We didn't make the cut on that. Air conditioning. Is it going to be total air conditioning, univent air conditioning? What kind of air conditioning? Honestly, my reason is cost factors are going to be very high, and there are units, like I said, if you go to univents with air conditioning, my opinion and what I see going into all new schools, you're wasting your money. Boilers, we have problems with most of our boilers in district. I would like to see specs on what the architects are talking about so that I could put an opinion in and help out the school. Because, like I say, right now, we have a perfect heating system for 1920. And that's what we have, not 2020, 1920. That's how dated our systems are in their technology. And if we want our children to grow up healthy, strong, warm, and cool in the summertime, we have to spend the money. We have to do it properly, and we have to do a fix that's gonna last until the next millennium with no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Spalazzo, oh, I'm sorry, we're gonna do all question answers at the end, I apologize.
Next question.
My name is Yubong Won-young. I live at 268 Highland Avenue. I don't have a child who goes to school here, okay? But however, related to Mr. Lin's case, and I do have a deeply concerned about what's going on, and we cannot afford any other child that can happen same thing, right? So when you discuss with the closed session, I don't know that's gonna be happen, but or open session, I don't know, but whatever it is, I like to know what's the outcome of it.
Thank you.
Rivera, 512 Glen Avenue. One of the things that was gonna be discussed today, I was informed, was visitors needing proof of vaccination status or negative PCR within like 48 hours. I wanna know what ended up happening with that, and also what is the Board of Ed's stance on the possibility of a vaccine mandate on our children.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, then we are closing the,
I move that we close
Second.
the open session.
Mr. Choi?
Yes.
I'm gonna take the easy ones.
Yes,
Ms. Rivera, you were last, so I'll answer you first. How about that? You were patient in asking your question. As far as the policy, and I hope you are okay with this evening the board did accept my recommendation. Just like every school employee, just like every staff member that is required to submit a vaccination card or be subjected to testing at a minimum of 1 time per week. Today, the board approved that any vendors or visitors that will be here for more than 15 minutes will be subjected to the same requirements. That is for safety and the well-being of everyone. Again, if you are a vendor who is fixing lights in our school and you will be here for more than 15 minutes, you will prove to us with a vaccination card and/or a negative PCR that you belong in our building. Until we have that, we cannot allow you in, whether the children are here or not.
Follow-up question, and that goes for.
So, hold on, we're in,
Okay.
sorry. As far as the vaccination status, I don't know, I think you directed that to the Board of Children. Is that what you asked?
And Board of Ed for the children.
You want me to try?
Sure.
Until the state tells us, masks are mandatory or not mandatory, and the local health department and/or Department of Health advises us, I don't think any one of us are experts on this pandemic or on the requirement of wearing or not wearing. If they tell us to wear it, as we are all doing, wearing it.
Was your question, was
Question
the
was
vaccination mandate, it wasn't?
Vaccination mandate, not the mandate.
I'm sorry. I will tell you, I partnered with the Leonia Public Schools. I believe something was sent out today from our two school principals, Ed Lindbergh and the Early Childhood Center. So for children ages 5 and 11, the Leonia Public Schools are offering it. There is no mandate. As far as I'm concerned, there is no mandate as of today. I can't tell you something different.
Thank you very much. In addition to that, Dr. Stoll, do you want our copies since we are?
Since you're here more than 15 minutes, our meetings used to be a lot longer when I started this
I
job.
know. So you want
Yes,
copies?
eventually we'll need them. Yes, sir, thank you. Ms. Yoon, asked a question, I'm just working backwards, and if Ms. Yoon asked a question relative to the matter with the minor, so we're gonna leave that alone for someone else.
Okay.
If there's even a response at this point. Mr. Spalazzo asked a question about the HVAC. Joe, I know I did make an attempt to meet with you last week, and I trust you just as much as any architect or engineer. I never went to school for any of this. So many of the things you just
Neither
talked
did
about.
I just fell into it for some
Well,
reason.
listen, whatever you fell into, you learned it quicker than I did. But I'll tell you, there is definitely a priority list of needs assessment. And I promise you, you can have one of these, don't lose sleep over it. There's no resolution on this tonight. All this means is we've identified the most vulnerable items in our schools. And we talked about heat, we talked about air. Guys, we also have to talk about air quality, because the federal government gave us that money. So we don't have to wear these eventually. I don't know when. So we are in fresh air with the MERV 13, 18, 29 filters like the hospitals have.
That'll meet the specifications.
You and I can meet and we
No,
can
I'm
talk.
just saying,
And
air
architects
quality
meet.
is built into new systems, so that'll go up 100% better.
Thank you. Ms. Chung spoke to the issue with the minor. Ms. Papranis spoke to the Class 3 officer. I'll just take your first part of your question. I know there was much deliberation and back and forth with regard to the Class 3 officer. The gentleman in the shared service agreement that was approved last month is in our schools, and I've been told he's had a very positive impact thus far. So I'm grateful, especially now knowing that on Wednesdays, we don't have an SRO. Well, we have some sort of security in our building. So it was approved. I have still continued to work with the mayor and council to hopefully not just stop at one. If we can have multiple Class 3 officers that are certified, why not? We're not paying. We have another level of security. I'm all for it. Mr. Rivera spoke about the root cause analysis regarding the minor, and Ms. Lim started our meeting with, I guess, much concern about the matter at hand. So,
Okay.
I am not going to address it. I am sorry. My attorney advised me against it.
So, I'll address it to this extent. It is an ongoing investigation. The board takes it very, very seriously, on what's going on. And we are investigating it, and we can't speak much about it. Now, if there's a final conclusion on it, what happened, what we could do better so that it doesn't happen again. If there's a final conclusion on it, that has to be shared with the parent directly, because it involves a parent situation. And the parent will make, it's her choice whether she wants to disclose it to you folks. To the other folks involved here, if you want to go ahead and contact the administration, contact myself about any protocols that we have concerning like situations, please feel free to do so. We are looking at our protocols. We're looking at seeing what, again, what happened, what we could have done better, and what the end result is going to be. This is this is a serious issue. I mean, we've discussed it tremendously, and we want to address it with you as best as we can. We have responsibilities to the folks involved on the staff end as well too. We have to let them present their side of the story as well, fully, okay? And hopefully that communication will open up one day, very soon. Now, it came to a little bit of a stop because my understanding was that there was a potential claim. If that was a potential claim, it's a potential litigation matter, it's a potential thing involving attorneys. That's how I got involved in this case. So I asked the board to speak through me and speak through the administration, and that contact was made to the mother. I apologize, it's not a back and forth right now. I'll give you that opportunity, and we'll give you that opportunity in closed session.
Are you a bench room? I just wanted to identify.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I am.
good, thank you. I didn't know who you were, so.
Thank you.
That's it.
So did we answer?
I answered what I could.
So if we, at this time, close open session, and if you want to move to closed session, you may do so. I would ask, if we do that, we entertain Ms. Lynn's comments first before we go into any reports.
So I'd like to make a motion that we close this portion of the meeting and go into closed session.
Second.
And for the public, at this point, when we go into closed, Ms. Lynn will remain. I do have a responsibility to report to the board, HIB, harassment, intimidation, bullying cases. Formal action regarding only those matters will be taken. Otherwise, have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.